Welcome to another episode of At Home with Eastbrook Homes. My name is Eric Hulkran. On today's episode, we are talking to Brooke Cummings. You might know her on Instagram and Facebook as My Casual Mom. The influencer and lifestyle blogger is building a home with Eastbrook Homes, and we talk to her next. And as I said today, my guest on the podcast, Brooke Cummings. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you, Eric?
I am well. So where does this podcast find you today? Where are you right now?
Right. I like that question, actually, because we're in my current home in DeWitt, Michigan. It's 90 degrees out, and when you just get done blow drying your hair, it feels like it's 120 degrees. So, yep, my daughter's at camp today, so I'm able to focus with you today.
Awesome. And we will get to phase two of what you're sort of alluding to. But for people who might not know who you are and what you do, kind of talk a little bit about the magical stuff you're doing on your little plot of the internet and kind of how that came to be.
I started a blog just over 4 years ago called My Casual Mom, and it kind of started because my daughter was about to go into kindergarten, and I was a stay-at-home mom with her for 4 years. So I was like, what am I going to do now? Like, she's going to be at school all day. Like, I had done sales and like staffing in the past, and so I started kind of going back to some of my old contacts and being like, do I want to do that again? Or like, do I want to do kind of something like work from home? Do I want to like volunteer? Like, there was, the world was so open for me. And so long or the short, I had some friends over the last probably like year before Hadley had gone back to school say like, you should start a blog. Like, you travel to really cool places and you have like really cool purses, which I don't know where that came from, but and like, you just always like kind of look put together. Like, even when you're wearing like athleisure wear, you look put together. And I'm like, okay, but I consider myself kind of a boring person generally. Like, I don't know. I don't think that I'm this big, like, personality per se. But I kind of shrugged off those people, like some of my friends, like, you should do that. And I'm like, I don't think so. Like, what would I even talk about on the page? Like, this and that. And then about, like, I told my husband about it, and about like a year later, we're still kind of like, what am I going to do? Like, why Hadley's at school? Like, we're still kind of mulling over some ideas. And somehow, like, we were on a date night and he was like, I think you should do the blog thing. Like, I think like some people could relate to your journey, like trying to re-find yourself, like after you've been home with your daughter, or just re-find yourself after being a mom, whether you're already working or you're trying to find out what you're not. Like, it's such a big change in like a woman's life that like, I think all of us kind of go through this, like, who am I now? So that, like, just about 4.5 years ago, I launched it on Facebook first, because that's kind of how I felt like where my moms and like my friends hung out.
Sure.
And
yep.
Then because I'm 43, so like I always say, like, us like older folk, prefer some of us, me, I'm speaking really about, prefer Facebook. So I started it there. We were out on a date one night and my husband's like, yeah, you should call. I was like, well, it has to have like mom in the title, like whatever. So he was like, well, what about My Casual Mom? Because like, you really don't get dressed up very much. And I'm like, you're right. I really don't. Like, I don't like getting dressed up fancy. Like, I just like being comfortable. And so it kind of like on a date night, we came up with a name, and like 2 months later, I didn't tell anybody. I didn't even tell my best friend I was doing it. I just launched it one day and like had a website built, and almost 5 years, it'll be 5 years in September. I'm still going strong.
That's awesome. Let's talk about that new house. So one of the things I've been doing with this journey with Eastbrook Homes is talking about, the market. It's been kind of crazy where things like building a house seem to be more within reach than going off into the crucible that is buying and selling, right? And so what made you guys decide to build, and what made you pick Eastbrook Homes?
So the what you just brought up there is basically like what we went through. We we looked on the market for like probably about 6 years. And we started looking and we just were like, there's really nothing updated. But we were like, seemed like building was a little like too much for us. Like we had friends that do it. And I'm just like, that just seems a little like just too many details, I think, for like us to process. Cause we're like, my husband works, I work, and then like we're just busy, like hanging out with friends and family. And so it just seemed like that was maybe an undertaking that we didn't want to do. So we did a few remodels here at our current house, and that kind of like, you know, helped us kind of stay here a little
Yep.
longer.
Yep.
We got like a piece of what it is to build, like to design a room. We did our kitchen and we did our master bath. And so it kind of like kept us happy for a little bit. And we kind of knew eventually though we wanted a ranch. So we're like, there's just no ranches that are like even somewhat updated, because now that we had the experience of doing some remodels around here, I was like, well, we could, you know, if it's if we buy something that's 80% of the way, we could finish it now with kind of some of the knowledge that we have with our current remodels. But like, we couldn't even find that. So we kind of said during the pandemic, we looked at a lot that is in DeWitt, Michigan. That's where we live. It's in a neighborhood called Crowner Farms. And we looked at the lot right before the pandemic hit, and we were just finishing our bathroom remodel. Like we were planning some trips and stuff. And so like, I don't know, we thought like the lot was a little expensive. So anyways, we passed like at that time. And then like, you know, everybody was at home during the pandemic and they were like, okay, what can I do with my home? Or like, how do I get out of, like, you know, what's next? You know, because you're looking at these four walls so much. I guarantee I'm relating to so many people right now with that.
For sure. Yep.
Yeah, like all those people did, you know, like their own rentals, like DIYs, I think, during just to pass the time. And we're not handy people at all. So a DIY, like for anything else in this house, was not even in the question.
Yep.
So we had met with a builder that did our remodels naturally because we knew him. And then we said, well, we should interview some other ones just to see what's out there. And Eastbrook builds in this current neighborhood that we live in here in DeWitt, and they like build just kind of right around the corner from me here. And so we've seen their houses go up, and we've like, you know, they build very nice houses, and like they seem to build them like fairly quickly. And I had kind of heard, you know, that they were out of Grand Rapids. Like you hear stuff kind of in the neighborhood, like as those new people had moved in. And so we said, well, why don't we interview them? And then we interviewed just the guy that we bought the lot from as a builder. So we kind of interviewed him. And then long of the short, we got some bids back, and then we narrowed it down to Eastbrook that we like were pretty interested with them. In mainly, there was a couple reasons, but the big thing is how I talked about earlier with so many choices and decisions to make when you're building a home, and that seems really overwhelming. And so Eastbrook's model made it very easy for us to, they give you this, like, you know, a plan. They give you like 50 plans to choose from almost. Like, do you want a ranch? Do you want a 2-story? You want, you know, 2-car garage, 3-car garage, 1-car garage? Like, there's just so many different like things that are already like models that are already made up, and then you can adjust them to fit you from those. And so that didn't seem as overwhelming when you could pick from, you know, like a bunch of different things that are like plans that are already made up.
Sure. And so what did you end up picking?
We ended up picking, I think ours is called the Fitzgerald. Geez, it's been a minute since I've looked at the names. And it's a ranch. It's a ranch, and it's 3-car garage. And I will add that our realtor that we work with at Eastbrook, her name is Jen. She's in our area here in DeWitt and in the Lansing area. And you know, we just challenged her to like say, okay, so Eastbrook has these models, and then you can go in, pick the one you want, and then make it exactly you on the inside. So I asked her, could you show me some that like Eastbrook recently did so I could kind of and try to imagine myself and my family in one of these homes, like, because I'm a very visual person.
Sure.
I'm
Yeah.
doing what I do. I pictures, I just that's how I can interpret, the next season of my life is a little bit through that. So she said absolutely. So she used some of her contacts, people that had built with them in the last 2 years, and called them and asked them for favors to see if we could walk through. And she really went above and beyond. So that was a huge like point for me, is like, wow, like she's really willing to knock on the door to some of these older like customers, like within the last 2 or 3 years, to see if we can see their place. Like she's going above it. I felt like she was really going above and beyond to do that. And customer service is very important to me. I'm sure it is to a lot of people, but I look at that. Like I look at like how this is the beginning of our process. So like how flexible, how friendly, like how like malleable are they,
Where are we in the build process? I've seen the photos on Instagram, so I sort of know, but like, where are you in the build process? And then we'll kind of go from there, but like, where are we right now in the build?
So our completion date was set to be August 25th. So we're pretty close to the end. They sent out some paperwork like 2 weeks ago saying that they are running ahead of schedule, which is like, you probably never hear of that with a builder, right?
Right.
And I was like, I still am like, well, I'll believe it when I see it. But since their processes are so down because they just do this is what they do. They don't dinker around with other things. They build houses. So like they got it down, and they were like, yeah, like we think you're going to be in probably like more towards the beginning of August. So right now they're like, last week they finished painting. They put in the countertops last week. They put up the lighting over the weekend. I was just there yesterday, and the guy is doing the siding on the front of the house. Like the stone is already there, but he's working on the siding. So it's really getting close, and it's fun to see the details that we picked out in Eastbrook's like design center last fall come to life.
You sort of indicated early on, what I think a lot of people feel when they think about building, right? Is like, it's this giant leap I have to do, and it's sort of scary, and I'm not really sure how to do it. But now that you're towards the end of this process, what advice would you give to people who are thinking about building, and what should they think about?
Well, for us, this was a good fit because, like I said, it's too overwhelming. They handle so much that's already done, but they also allow you to create your own dream too, like and mold it to who you and your family really are. And some of the things we chose were considered like upgrades with Eastbrook, but we knew that going in. This is the plan, and they're like, yep, that would be good. Okay, so we know. And then we get all the way to the end, and we say like, okay, yeah, maybe we don't need the deck off the back because that's like, more
Sure.
than we want to pay. Or you cut and paste a little bit of what you thought you wanted, and when you get to the final like line item of pricing. But I just like that the options were endless, and they really will say like, yep, we've done a ton of that and it looks great right now, or that's really in. The designer that we worked with, her name was Sarah. She has been there, from what I understand, quite a while, and she was a good fit for us. I'm not sure if that's how they select it, like based on like, oh, they picked the Fitzgerald, so like Sarah does those. I don't know how they dole out what designer you get there, but she was able to really like see like our visions and dreams. I sent her a Pinterest board because Jen, our realtor, had said like, send her a board, send her pictures so that before you come to your meeting, she can see like what you see in your head. And so just they really have it down. I mean, they have a craft, and they really have it down there. They do.
Brooke, thank you so much for the time. I will let you get on with your day. It was a pleasure talking to you, and good luck on the house.
Okay, thank you so much, Eric.